Hi everybody, Derek here from Crua. Really important subject to discuss today, and that's ventilation in your tent. So whether you're using a Crua tent or any other tent for that matter, it's really important that fresh air can get in and circulate inside in the tent, both inside the outer layer or the outer tent, and of course inside the inner tent as well, or the cocoon. In this video, we're going to cover the Moore series of tents. That's the Crua Tri, the Crua Lodge, and the Crua Cottage, and I'm going to show you where the vents are on the outer tent and where the vents are on the inner tents and how they work indeed. Okay, so the Tri, the Lodge and the Cottage will all have these type of external vents. So these are braced open vents, which means essentially when they come, they'll probably come closed like this. It's very simple to open them. Unvelcro and use the brace on the inside. Some of them have one and some of them have two, if they're a double. Open both braces like that. That just stops any wind from pushing them closed. Some of them will be higher up like this one on the Lodge, but they're also going to be lower down along the bottom of the tent on the Lodge, the Tri and the Cottage. And you'll even find one inside in the porch area, inside in the Tri over the door, and that's the door into the inner tent. Make sure they're all open. That's really part of the setup of the tent, is making sure all of your external vents are open. So it's it's a really important thing actually to look for all of these outer brace vents and make sure that they're always open. That just ensures you get that nice fresh air that we talked about inside the tent and circulating inside the tent at all times. Now on the Crua Lodge, the Crua Cottage, which this one is, and on the newer versions of the Crua Tri, you'll also find this window vent on the back. And it is exactly as it sounds. It's a vent under the window. So it's very simple. You just always make sure that both sides are guyed out, and then there's a zip on the side that you undo on both sides, and that just makes sure that there's loads of fresh air getting in there into the mesh and circulating inside the outer tent. There's also the option of undoing the second zip, and you can roll up the whole window, toggle it at the top, and that actually literally opens up the whole window into the mesh area if you want complete airflow into the back of the tent. Just a note, if you're using the reflective fly sheet on the Tri, the Lodge or the Cottage, something important to remember is that you always guy it out away from the tent. That just makes sure that there's plenty of airflow between the outer tent itself and the reflective fly sheet. Really important. It also means that the reflective fly sheet doesn't impede the air getting into the vents and circulating as we want it to circulate inside in the tent itself. So a small note to remember, it's very simple. Just guy it out, there you'll see about 8 inches or thereabouts away from the actual tent itself. Again, allowing that fresh air to flow between the two layers. Now, we've spoken about the vents on the outer tent of the Tri, the Lodge and the Cottage, and we've spoken briefly about the reflective fly sheets as well. But remember that the inner tent, so this cocoon or this culla, also has vents that need to be opened, and they're very simple to open. They're just covered by these curtains. So unzip it either side, roll up and toggle front and back. Now I'm in the Crua Lodge, and in this case there are high vents, low vents, and also window vents at the back, so that they all correspond. They have these mesh vents that correspond with outer airflow in through the outer tent as well. We always suggest, and in fact you should always have at least 2 of these open, which promotes cross airflow. Ideally 1 high, 1 low if possible. So that means you're getting a nice flow of air into the space at all times. Here you can see that the doors in the Tri, the Lodge and the Cottage, this is the Lodge example, all have bug mesh. So needless to say, this can also be used as ventilation. So if you want real maximum airflow in here, you can tie back the actual curtain or the door itself and just close up the bug mesh. The bug mesh is black again to block some of the light coming in. But again, it just shows that there's more ventilation options in here. And again, you don't have to leave the door fully open. You can just leave it a crack opened if you wish, and the vent on the inside. But again, just another option to maximize that airflow into your colour or into your bedrooms. So there you have it, how the various vents work on the Crua Tri, the Crua Lodge and the Crua Cottage. Remember, it's really important that airflow gets through the various layers. So when you're using the reflective fly, guy it away from the tent and open all of the outer tent vents, and again on the inner tent, on the cocoon, the culla, make sure that those vents are open and you're getting good cross ventilation through each space. If you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to us on support@cruaoutdoors.com. Thanks for watching.